Your message to the military and police, they've got a choice to make right now. I mean, we're deep into tyranny already. They're openly calling for internet kill switches, shutting down alternative media. I mean, stuff that we never would have believed would happen is now happening. What's your message to the military and police?
My message to them is do at least as well as the military of East Germany did when they stood down and refused to fire on their own people. Do at least as well as the military of Romania in 1989 when they also refused the dictator's orders to shoot their own people. And 10 days after the uprising began, the dictator was dead. And do at least as good as the military of Tunisia, which just recently also refused orders to fire on their own people. Our men and women in uniform should be able to do as well as the troops of a dictator in a third world North African dictatorship. I believe they can. Some folks are so cynical, they think that they will just do anything they're told. The power elites want you to think that, and they want you to think they all belong to them. Don't forsake them. Wake them up, get them on our side, and they'll do what's right too.
Well, I mean, the bigger issue here is the globalists are the ones that have destroyed our economy. You were saying during the break, Alex, the key is this economic implosion, and you're right.
Sure, they're setting us up like dominoes. They've gutted our power in our states. They made us weak as a people. Like I said last time I was on your show, it used to be we had 3 years of grain reserves in this nation during the Cold War. Now we only have enough for half a loaf of bread for each one of us. It's absurd. So they've intentionally weakened the people and put us up and set us up to be desperate and destitute and starving when the economy collapses.
And by the way, they write white papers on that. None of this is our opinion. I mean, they want us domesticated.
Sure, and they already tell me.
Is a sharecropper allowed to have any food? No. A sharecropper's got to buy his food from the company store.
And no weapons. You can't organize by yourself. Don't you dare have a posse for your sheriff to back him up. Don't you dare have a state militia. Don't have a county militia. You can't do anything. Like you said earlier, you can't even pack your own kid's lunch. They're treating us like children, and the only safe thing they want us to do is go vote for fake puppet 1 or fake puppet 2, which they both control.
Now, the good news is you are seeing a lot of military and police waking up when we got those secret documents and others have been released that the #1 target of the government secretly is veterans. And that's not some veteran who's whacked out of his mind. It's conservatives and libertarians. That Homeland Security was built for the gun-owning, land-owning American.
And most veterans are traditional Americans. They believe in our heritage. They believe in the principles of the Declaration of Independence, and they believe in the Constitution.
And they may have been conned a little bit to get into neoconism, but they were only used. The globalists hate you. Just like Hitler shut down the SA after he came to power.
That's right. They'll use you and throw you away. And that's why when I reach out to veterans now, they are open and listening because they are being deprogrammed after years into the Bush administration of being brainwashed to go along with the neocon agenda. But now they're waking up. They're seeing, like they're upset about Libya. They understand what's wrong with that. And they're seeing that Obama is he's simply taking what Bush created and taking it to the next step, claiming the authority to assassinate Americans anywhere found in the world on his secret list.
And they admit Al-Qaeda is the core of the rebels. I mean, what do you make of that? The fact that they're telling us Al-Qaeda are now the good guys in Libya.
I hadn't heard much about that.
Pull up Wall Street Journal, yeah. Did you hear about Anwar al-Awlaki, the #2 in Al-Qaeda, hanging out secretly at the Pentagon, Stuart?
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, I want to get your take on that when we come back after the news. And we've got one of your compadres in studio with us. CNBC on Friday had the headline, Republicans will be to blame if U.S. defaults. Geithner, that's the Treasury Secretary. I had Lou Dobbs on for more than a half hour, and he agreed with me that was financial terrorism. It is the out-of-control spending. It is the tens of trillions in foreign banker bailouts that is the main reason the dollar is already basically defaulting. The Federal Reserve is having to monetize 70% of it. And China is dumping more and more dollars now. So that is a default. Oh, they're going to pay off the international debts, but with devalued money. And that is a inflation tax on us all. And that leads us to this next segment. I'm going to be doing an extended video interview with both of you guys after this for prisonplanet.tv viewers. But Brandon Smith with alt-market.com. To segue into this briefly, we had Bernard von Nuthaus, 13 years. For decades before that, ran the Hawaiian Royal Mint. You're a constitutional lawyer. Even the Wall Street Journal, Associated Press said he shouldn't have been convicted. The jury's ignorance Last night, I took my kids to a movie. Guy was paying with a $2 bill. Called the manager up, freaked out, almost called cops. People are routinely arrested for $2 bills. But I actually saw this with the guy in front of me last night. And it took him like 5 minutes. I mean, and they said, please go to another line. And I was like, well, there's no reason to. I want to see this happen. But he went to jail, basically, or was about to go to jail for a $2 bill. But he didn't even have a $2 bill that was the government currency. He had his own silver. So segue with that, and then let's break down what's happening with the financials.
What they're trying to do is criminalize something the Constitution never said people can't do, which is simply to have real gold and silver in your pocket and use that. So trying to manipulate what vague statutes in our law that have been sitting there for decades, but now they're trying to turn them into a weapon against someone like von Nothaus, who simply had sound money that he was selling and using and encouraging others to use. And so what they've done, like the U.S. Attorney Ann Tompkins said after his conviction, attempts to undermine the legitimate currency of this country are simply a unique form of domestic terrorism. While these forms of anti-government activities do not involve violence, they are every bit as insidious and represent a clear and present danger to the economic stability of this country. And they're telling us what they're going to do. We are determined to meet these threats through infiltration, disruption, and dismantling of organizations which seek to challenge the legitimacy of our democratic form of government.
And we now have 9 states, South Carolina, Montana, others, moving to issue their own currencies. For hundreds of years, there have been cities, counties that issue their own scripts. This is as legal as taking a walk in the park. And they're using the public's abject ignorance and these hand-picked federal juries that are kept basically like criminal informants is what they are. They're just hired liars who would send a ham sandwich to the gas chamber.
That's right. And I lived in Las Vegas. I grew up there. And you saw all kinds of casinos using coins that said U.S., $5, $10. So they use all the same terminology that he was convicted for using. They've been doing that for decades. So what's the difference? Well, he was a legitimate, serious threat to the fiat system. So they don't want anybody to unplug from the matrix to use anything other than their manufactured fiat system. If you use that, they're going to come after you.
He had $7 million on hand when they came and seized it in gold and silver. Now, expanding into ways to counter this, we can't let this intimidation work, or next they'll tell parents they can't pack their kids' school lunches. Oh, I'm sorry, they're already doing that. Or next, they'll have untrained goons sticking their hands down kids' pants. Oops, they're already doing it. Next, they'll be putting sodium fluoride in the water. Oops, they're already doing it. I'm sorry. Brandon Smith, tell us about your idea that's really taking the country by storm, and you guys are traveling around the country getting this information out.
Well, what we're looking at is an extreme form of centralization. And the purpose of centralization is to remove options to the public until there's only one option left. And
that's freedom, though. Like in Star Trek, the Borg are bringing freedom.
Right. Resistance is futile. Yeah,
that's loving. Yeah.
And that's essentially what globalization is centralization, removing options until there's only one left.
No more firewalls. Nowhere left to run. Just nothing but total control freaks running things that openly say they want to exterminate us.
Exactly. And I think the Nothaus decision, the Liberty Dollar decision, was very important. Not necessarily the trial itself, but the post-trial statement from Ann Tompkins, who, compared it to domestic terrorism. I think the reason that's important is because they tipped their hand. They showed that they showed what they fear. What they really fear, which is decentralization and localization and common.
Because if they're going to devalue a currency, which they're now doing, and the Chinese and others don't want it, the Europeans are running away, well, at least they've got us here, and they're saying, look, you're not going to have anything else.
Exactly.
And let's not forget, in my grandparents' day, they ordered them to turn their gold and silver in.
Yes.
And most of them did. My great-grandfather up in Dallas owned a car dealership. He didn't give in to what they said. I already kept a little bit back, but will Americans line up this time and even turn in their wedding rings if the government orders them to?
We're hoping not. We're hoping that we can influence the public to start taking up personal barter.
But, sir, isn't patriotism doing whatever government says?
That's what they say.
Wow, you're almost as bad as George Washington.
I must be a terrorist like Nothaus for,
All right, well, tell us about your evil idea of people engaging in commerce outside of the private Federal Reserve notes that are counterfeit, that masquerade as U.S. currency.
Right, well, my extremist idea is to promote barter and trade networks across the country.
Very evil.
that's just the beginning. Eventually, what we want to do is set up conventions across the country that teach people not only how to set up barter networks, but also bring in experts in particular trades.
Like Osama bin Laden?
Somebody like that, yeah. With what is his trade?
CIA officer. But I mean, going back to that, I mean, being serious, I'm just illustrating absurdity by being absurd here.
No problem.
I mean, looking at this here, I mean, they are saying he's a unique type of terrorist.
No, absolutely. That's I think that reveals their great fear, which is that people will decentralize, localize, and start taking their commerce, their local commerce, into their own hands and operating it themselves instead of relying on corporate chains.
Well, we're already seeing these co-ops around the country where okay, the government says I can't have fresh milk from a local dairy, so you buy your own cow that's in a stall there. We're doing that.
Right.
Very Al-Qaeda. And then they're trying to harass and shut those down, even though it's not illegal. I mean, they're not freaked out about Mexican drug cartels, banks laundering hundreds of billions in money. They're not worried about corruption. No, they're worried about people who actually want to learn how to wipe their own nose.
Well, they're trying to shut the Amish down, and I'm from Pennsylvania. And, you know...
Whoa, you're not backing them up, are you? Thank God they're trying to shut them down. What I read about the SWAT teamings of them, those are dangerous people.
Oh, yeah, well, they
have beards, Al-Qaeda.
They're selling milk.
Dutch Al-Qaeda.
Yes. Writing... very, very...
Whoa, I'm in a room with some radicals.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude, I'm radical, but not this radical. You're siding with Amish not being SWAT team for having their kids CPS'd?
Absolutely.
And they're off the grid, too.
That's whoa. Okay, I'm going to... Sir, tell us about your evil organization, alt-market.com.
Right, well, what we've done so far is we've launched a website that people can use as a networking hub for their barter networks. They can jump on, they can set up a profile page for their group, they can meet other people who want to barter in their area.
Keep talking, I'm keeping you here.
Okay. And from there...
Yeah, Homeland-Security, I've got him right here. Hold on, wait a minute. He says he knows Amish. He knows them. Yeah, he believes you should be able to have your own silver. Keep talking, just stay there, buddy.
All right.
You're going to learn. That's not funny. Keep laughing. All right, good. I'll keep him here. Make sure that you roll in hot with the SWAT team. He's dangerous.
Is that see something, say something that you... Is that Janet Napolitano that you got?
You actually write for SWAT magazine, don't you? That's good.
I used to. Yeah.
You're starting to wake those guys. Oh, they didn't like it when you said you're for freedom?
No. They're patriots. I got too busy with the Oath Keepers to keep writing for them.
Sir, I apologize. We're going to do
no problem.
We're going to do an extended interview with you because it's a surprise having you here today.
Okay.
Dude called me a few days ago and said, "Hey, Stewart's coming through town." I said, "Bring him." And then he brought all you great guys who I'm familiar with. We're going to do a video interview with you that'll be out in the next week or so. That's going to be awesome for prisonplanet.tv. It'll be seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So Brandon Smith, you heard him, he knows Amish. He's evil. And alt-market.com. Find out more about something so un-American, so wicked, so horrible. The Founding Fathers loved it. We'll be right back.